Okay, final lecture on Midsummer Night's Dream. I want to talk about the Indian boy, about erasure, invisibility, and how through reading against the grain, through reading theoretically, we might refuse the erasure of the other, right? And render the marginalized, othered body to be not just visible but urgently present. I think these are possibilities that really should be addressed conjointly between semantic literary analysis and semiotic performance and theatrical work. Right, I really do think these are the kind of things that do make Shakespeare studies urgent in critical and theoretical senses, but also in performance senses. That this is something which can make a play that is hundreds of years old radically new, radically urgent, right? So, what is the first reference we have to the Indian boy? It is in Act 2, Scene 1, when Puck introduces himself to a nameless fairy, right? And he, he has a swagger about himself, this Puck does, right? And he's like, yeah, like, I'm this dude, if you will, right? Yeah. And he is able to disclose to this fairy the kind of current dynamic between Oberon and Titania, right? So he says in Act 2, Scene 1, towards the very beginning of the scene, the king doth keep his revels here tonight, the king being Oberon. Take heed the queen come not within his sight. For Oberon is passing fell and wrath, because that she, as her attendant, hath a lovely boy, stolen from an Indian king. She never had so sweet a changeling, and jealous Oberon would have the child knight of his train to trace the forests wild. But she perforce withholds the loved boy, crowns him with flowers, and makes him all her joy. And now they never meet in grove or green, by fountain clear or spangled starlight sheen, but they do square, that all their elves for fear creep into acorn cups and hide them there. Right, so again, a very cute image to end a rather problematic, disturbing episode, or a series of episodes, right, of discord between the fairy king and queen. The cause of this discord is not only a human, and one of you, several of you asked this question about what's with this Indian boy, right? And one of you had referred to the cause of the discord being trivial. What I would like to suggest is the opposite. The cause is not trivial. The cause is urgent. The cause is enormous. The cause is the Orient. So a few things. I'm trying to think what I should come up with first. The Orient, the world that will become the colonies of England and France and Spain, the world rich in spices and rich in trade, where these substances is, excuse me, allergies are taking their toll, and it's getting late in the evening, so I will wrap shop very quickly. Well, 15 minutes. So the world is what this boy represents, right? So there are all these references to spices, to distant lands, to India, to riches, this king, right? This Indian king dude, a very cute boy, very pretty changeling. So there are aesthetics attached to the Indian's otherness, and there is material wealth attached to his Indianness, right? And we'll add to this when Titania adds her bits about the votress, the mother of this Indian child. So, yes, it is vital for us to consider the import of the child and what he represents, what value he has, right? So that is one of many reasons the fairy royalty is feuding over him, because he means something valuable. I have talked about fairies and how they were affiliated or associated with dubious activity, including abduction, right, of children. So the early modern mythos of the fairy is that of a dangerous, violent, potentially murderous creature, right, who can take babies from their beds and take them away if the humans have not done enough to satisfy fairy fetish, right, or fairy demands. So in that context, the abduction of the Indian boy, and that is how Puck introduces the child, right? I mean, he has been abducted. Stolen is the word that Puck uses, and has been stolen from an Indian king. So it's not just a plebeian, it's not a rude mechanical, it is a Theseus type child, right? That has been taken away. That has been brought to this fairy world, which is, where is this world? Is it in the West? It is away from Athens, right? It's not in the forest even. I mean, it is in the forest, I stand corrected. It is in the forest, and yet it is not the world of the forest per se, right? The magical space of the fairyland is where this oriental creature, right, exists. And I use the phrase oriental creature to draw attention to its problematic presence, non-presence within A Midsummer Night's Dream. So in this play, what we see is a couple feuding over a colonial body, a body of the colonies, that is going to be a body of the colonies, right? And it is a body that is valuable because it's male, because it's royal, and because it has exotic aesthetic value as well as material value embedded in it. So when Titania starts talking about her refusal to give up her boy, we might even think of this as a boy toy, right? Because both Oberon and Titania refer to its cuteness and its beauty, as is Puck, right? As something which is desirable in a way that is sinister. But doesn't make the boy sinister, it makes those that desire him sinister, right? So when Titania starts talking about her refusal to give up this beautiful body to her husband, who is claiming it somehow as rightfully his, she says, and this is still Act 2, Scene 1, she says, "Set your heart at rest, the fairyland buys not the child of me. His mother was a votress of my order, and in the spiced Indian air by night full often hath she gossiped by my side, and sat with me on Neptune's yellow sands, marking the embarked traders on the flood, when we have laughed to see the sails conceive and grow big-bellied with the wanton wind, which she, with pretty and with swimming gait following her womb, then rich with my young squire, would imitate, and sail upon the land to fetch me trifles, and return again, as from a voyage, rich with merchandise. But she, being mortal, of that boy did die, and for her sake do I rear up her boy, and for her sake I will not part with him. Right, so I already have mentioned in a previous lecture Titania's loyalty that is matriarchal and maternal, that is counter to all patriarchal expectations, right? She performs actively and loyally a fidelity to her votress, a female body that is now dead, a mortal, that being mortal died. And we already know that, no, we don't already know at this stage in the play, but we already know because of my lectures that Titania is capable of distilling mortality from a bottom-like figure, right? Rendering him eternally available in the airy realms as an airy spirit. So her loyalty to the boy is a nostalgia and a sort of sorrowful, wistful remembrance of female mortality, specifically in pregnancy, and we talked about this in class, so I'm not going to go into it again. But she is refusing to give up this boy because her memories make him even more worthy than the values that are already, quote unquote, objectively attached to him. Now, remember throughout that there is no, in the cast of characters, there is no Indian boy written, right? There is no actor assigned the role of Indian boy. We have to conjure him in our imagination. And this is part of what I think we can kind of resist. Not only is he not trivial, he can be made present, right? His presence critically must be noted. How? In performance, he can be given physical shape and presence. But I think semantically, as we think about what the play can mean and what power means in this play and how people are trafficking in material and immaterial forms of power, I think the boy's Indianness and the boyishness must be rendered in our articulation, that we must talk about the thing that the play kind of mentions but refuses to give shape to, right? Is it because the implications of what is going to be done to and with the boy and with the colonized body, are those implications too dire, too objectionable to be mentioned in a comedy? But the comedy is already so problematic, right? So horrible in some ways. Or is it that the play is offering, just like it did in its hints of transgression, is it offering us this opportunity to take hold of this boy, to think about where he is from, where he is currently, and to which bower he is going to end up in, right? Oberon says he now has the boy in his bower. Where else do we hear the word bower? We hear it in the S&M scene where Titania tells her minions to bring Bottom tied up and silent to her bower. So Think about how important this is. We're almost out of time. I promised you this will be my last lecture for the day, so it is going to be. Thank you. Respond with comments, questions, inquiries, please. I will look forward to them. Thank you.